Chris, I don't think your father's in any way really ready for what we're presently doing. I don't think he knows the mics are on. I don't think he knows that his microphone isn't anywhere near his face right now.
Facing you right now.
He is a little out of, there it is. He's a little out of his element because he's been on vacation 2 weeks.
And he's in a different chair.
It's hard to get back on the bicycle here quickly once you've done this for a long time, and he's approaching his 70th birthday now. It's trendier now to run off old people. Trendier to be ageist.
What?
Is it? It's in right now.
Is it? By who?
Democratic Party.
You sound sad. Are you sad or are you sick?
A little of both.
Oh.
When Greg Cote turns 70, it kind of hits us all, and we're like, where are we?
Zagaki.
Well, one of the things that I'm having some trouble with today is that I think I've come to the conclusion, and it's hard to come to this conclusion right now after we're almost doing this 20 years. 20 years in September. We got a whole bunch of big celebration stuff planned for 20 official years.
Wow, congrats.
Well, but I don't feel very much through the sad sickness of feeling like this is too lax of an environment. Like I'm learning some things now a little bit late in the game about how lax our environment is, because they're playing some sound for me from Stugotz in New York that feels somewhere between irresponsible and profoundly disrespectful. And Greg Cote is now back, Chris. I'd like all of you to weigh in on this. What could possibly be the excuse coming off of vacation now that the Panthers are done playing for why Greg Cote inevitably doesn't have a back in my day today as he's supposed to, because they're sponsored and he's paid for them, and he hasn't had one in probably 6 months?
Well, I mean, I don't know what his excuse is. I know you didn't ask me, but in Greg's defense, I think the situation here is Greg is asked to be performing a different role today. Greg is in the Stugotz chair, so he has more responsibilities. Therefore, he wouldn't have the time to just do a back in my day because he's preparing to do so much more today, I would say.
That's a great excuse I hadn't thought of, so thank you, Billy.
You should have heard my dad scoff yesterday when I was like, Dad, so tomorrow you're in the 2 chair. So, come in with a little more to say, like come in with some topics. And he's just like, bah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always bring what I bring. I mean, I am
I just
what
meant,
I am.
come ready to talk.
I'm ready to talk. I'm talking into a microphone right now.
Well, you're actually below it. If you could lift it up a little bit, closer to your face.
And by the way, there's a very good reason why I happen not to have a back in my day today, and the reason is this. I slayed a deadline dragon for the Back in My Day book that's coming out later this year.
Oh, me, oh, my.
I had to write 3 original book exclusive Back in My Days, and it was weighing heavy on me. It was
so
like
you just wrote 3 new ones.
Wait, you have a second book coming out?
Yeah, there's a Back in My. They're serializing the best of. It's a highly.
Who's they?
The Mango Publishing, my favorite publishing house.
When is this supposed to come out?
Late in the year.
I'm curious which is going to come out first. This second book from Greg, so 2 in 1 year, or Stugotz's personal record book? Because it seems like now there's a race to the bookshelves.
It could be. I mean, Stugotz's book is going to be a monster. I can't wait to buy that.
You're going to have to wait because it's never going to come out. You're gonna have to perpetually wait.
Wow, I wasted my time writing that chapter for him, gratis.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in a cage, never let out the. I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I'm pretty sure we're going to make it successfully to our 20th anniversary in September. I'm making no promises after that. You laugh, Chris Cote, but I'm worried about the general corrosive malaise of Greg Cote is being paid to do his job here, but he's too busy with side projects, doing fresh material to make side money. Stugotz is being paid this week to be here, but he's too busy. He's advertising himself. He's gone full prostitute. He's gone, I'm in a contract year. I'm available to anyone who will take me, who wants to pay me, not noticing that it's a terrible shrinking media market, not noticing that there are no jobs.
Maybe he is noticing, and that's why he's trying to get ahead of it.
Well, there aren't any jobs in New York for him. He already tried that.
Wow. They call them sex workers now, by the way. Not
Yeah.
prostitutes.
Well, you're slut shaming.
No, I'm calling that a prostitute. I'm not calling anyone else a prostitute. I'm calling Stugotz a prostitute. What is the sound that you have of Stugotz on Boomer and Geo? I feel for anybody during these months that is used to a familiar thing and now gets stuck with the guest hosts. Whenever Colin Cowherd goes on vacation and then it's just lonely Jason McIntyre scared as a deer in headlights.
I have a couple options for you.
He does have that kind of
my
face. I
God.
see him on
It's-
mute, and he's
it's-
like,
it's all too much for me. It's all too much.
I have a couple choices for you. I have Stugotz being gross and fishing for a new contract, and I have a montage of his fake laugh. Which of those two do you guys want first?
both good.
Seems like Jessica was most titillated by the fake laugh. How much fake laugh do you have there?
This is just from one segment. I have 17 seconds of just a montage of him fake laughing.
Okay, do we know what the subject matter is? That
I don't
he's
think it
fake-
matters.
Okay.
I hate this.
What? Well, this is a special nightmare for you because how much of this do you edit out of God Bless Football?
Well, I have to do a lot, and I mean, not to point fingers, but you guys tanked Stupidity after you played this, because then everyone was just paying attention to the fake laughter, and no one could listen to anything else. Like, it was sabotage is what happened once we aired this, and every time we do it, it's just sabotaging our own shows again and again.
If you guys want to do a show of Stugotz's laziest crutches, because
That's the opposite of what I'm
the
saying. I wanna
fake
do.
laugh is up there, but him just using the bridge of I understand when he's not retaining anything that would require understanding, just saying I understand to get to whatever his next point is on not having understood the previous thing that was said. But go ahead, play the fake laugh to the tank stupidity.
Everything.
You're like he does the warm up. I don't like Stugotz from 10 years ago. Thunder. Okay. In that way. No problem. Going to go out of his way.
One segment. That's a week's worth of fake laughing right there. One segment.
He's out of his element. He's got to ease in. He needs like the pacifier to comfort himself and the host around him. The thing that works universally if you're going to be a chummy liar at a time that shamelessness is in is try to make people think they're funnier than they actually are. It's worked with me for 20 years as his cohort. He's made me feel funnier than I actually am and emboldened me to great heights. I don't understand though why Greg Cote doesn't have his back in my day. I don't. Like, you've had vacation, you've had the Panther playoff run is now plenty over.
Yeah, I had
You're
vacation.
paid for it.
You think I'm writing a back in my day on vacation?
You did just say that you wrote 3 fresh ones for the book.
I had a deadline. I slayed the deadline.
Why can't you
dragon.
read one of those? I mean, it's
slayed
your
the
book.
deadline dragon.
Shouldn't you have control over what is secret and what is exclusive to the
I
book?
signed a contract to write 3 book exclusive back in my days.
You signed a contract here to have a Tuesday back in my day that was sponsored. That was also a contract that you signed.
Who's sponsoring them?
Chris is onto something. If Greg's
my money at?
sitting in the Stugotz chair, he should have to do weekend observations, not back in my day.
That's a
So I'm
good
excited
point.
for that segment
Yeah,
later.
give them to me. I'll read them.
Text Taylor.
Give them to me. I'll read them.
Well, that's what Stu guys.
Yeah, you got to do them first.
And there.
That's
can't
half
get
the
through a
battle.
I thought he was doing and you know it. I was
That's
like,
what I
where
thought
we
he was
going here?
doing. Did you guys recognize that as a Dan? Because I thought that was the beginning of a creaky.
I was
and
like,
you know it.
whoa, where'd this come from?
You all heard that, correct? You thought that was him trying.
And you know it.
I was about to make fun of how creaky one of his signature phrases was, and then I realized, oh, it's not one of his signature phrases.
It was like una poita. When you throw a poita, it's like,
That's exactly what it is.
Wait, Greg, can you do a limited fake Stugotz laugh next? That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Just a fake laugh.
I know,
it
you got to be
sounds like
careful. Now. He's
Stugotz's.
going to be so winded at the end of this.
Take a breath.
He's going to start coughing. Oh, this is a bad thing that we've done here.
Another clip I have of Stugotz is just so you think, all right, maybe this stuff with WFAN, it's a bit, right? I want to play a clip here, and then we're going to ask ourselves the question, is this a bit?
What I'm saying is, I'm in a contract here. All right.
Oh, you are right now.
Yeah, and I have one contract left in which I want to be on air. And so I am telling the people here that run WFAN, this will be your last opportunity to get me, okay? That contract's up in about 7 to 8 months. Could be longer. I have no idea. I am telling you, I'm doing one more go here.
Yeah.
I got like 3 more years left on air, and then I'm going to go somewhere, and I'm going to disappear.
Bit or no bit?
Billy,
He's not disappearing.
That's a lie.
Why are you shaking your
He's
head,
not
Billy?
disappearing after 3 years. Get out of here. I mean, he may, not by choice, though. Respectfully.
Greg Cote has a bit of an issue on his hands, and I'm not sure how many of you have something like this because Greg does not want this turned into content. Chris Cote can't wait to turn it into content because there's some awkwardness in the Greg Cote household. I am just learning for the first time because Greg Cote is very careful and has been all his life about revealing his age. I am just learning for the first time that shortly Greg Cote will turn 70 years old. That's obviously a big birthday. If you've heard him coughing around here for years, it's a reason for celebration that he has gotten to 70 years old. But he's having some real problems, and I don't know the length of them. I don't know how awkward this goes, how deep it is, deciding who to invite from here because he feels like people are going to get hurt because not everyone's being invited. He just threw his hands up in the room before we got in here and said, "This is not my party," when it's literally his party.
But I'm not organizing it.
Yeah, it's debatable.
I'm behind the scenes.
Dad, you've
I know
called
what I
me
want.
multiple times to discuss guest list.
And discuss.
It's true. I seek your counsel on certain things, such as this show, quite frankly. But in other aspects of my life, there are also close calls and decisions. And do I invite him? Am I obligated to invite her? Should I invite him? Her?
I just want to say that I got a list of who my dad from this world was like, this is who I would think we would invite. And I
Okay,
got a
but
list. And
no names.
I'm not going to say names.
Oh, come on.
And then and my response was, this list will offend people. Because there are people on here that you've chosen that you've known less than some other people. Like you just
All right.
How many names are on the list without revealing the names?
Well, how many people? I've
names
got
are
a
on
lot
the
of
list?
questions. This is some quality awkwardness we have to play with here. How many people are invited? This is a party on a yacht.
Yeah, I think we're going to round it at about 100 invites.
Open bar?
Yeah.
And is that what you're scared of? Are you scared of where the cost is going to end up if you invite 150 people as opposed to 100 for what is a fairly spectacular celebration?
Yeah, it's going to be a banger. No, I'm not worried about the cost. I'm spending my kids' inheritance, literally. I just flew to Ireland first class, stayed at some of the ritziest hotels on the island. What a place, by the way, Ireland.
We'll get to your vacation.
Ireland.
I know you're. I know.
Emerald
I know.
Isle.
I know you want to do the routine of I'm a guest on a talk show host. I got some material here
got
from
material.
my vacation.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Okay,
Let me just
all
do
right.
the birthday stuff
I'm
first.
trying to veer you away from that.
No, I
It's
know, but I'm going to
embarrassing.
stay here for a while.
Okay,
I
fine.
know you want to get into. Let me tell you about all the things I did in Ireland. We'll
Thank
get
you.
to that in a second. I want to understand a little bit better what the reservation would be about in terms of who's getting invited from here and who isn't. Would half of our crew make it? Would half of the crew here make it? Are you going to offend half of the people who work here because you don't feel the need to invite everybody from here?
As a microcosm, this show is a good example because if there were no ceiling on number of people to invite, I'd invite everybody here, everybody and plus one.
So nice.
But I have to accept Mike Ryan. I'm not going to invite him.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the age discrimination suit and because of the really.
It's a body of work thing.
Giant infant.
He is a giant infant. Yeah.
Okay, so
He does say no kids
So you're not
outside of my daughter.
You're not inviting Mike Ryan because you've got that litigation against him for elderly abuse.
Yeah, elderly abuse and other stuff.
It is. I thought it was age discrimination and elderly abuse.
Yeah,
I didn't think there was other stuff. I thought it was
there's
$1.2 million in damages.
Well, no, that's the suit. The reason he's not inviting him is for other stuff.
Right. There's a lot of reasons to go into it, but up to me, I invite everybody I've ever met.
Greg, it's your party. It's your.
But there's a limit. If it's on a boat, there's a limit. There's nothing Greg can do.
Right.
No, this is the
Coast Guard
reason,
will come.
This is the reason that there is something Greg can do. The 70th birthday party is your wishes. It's not anybody else's wishes. The party's for you. The party is to make you happy. I understand you're putting this veneer of defense in so that you can have plausible deniability on anyone who doesn't get invited, but it's your guest list.
All right, let's be clear about this. 5 or 6 weeks ago, my wife comes to me and says, I've rented a yacht. Your 70th birthday party, it's not going to be a surprise party. Okay, so
Surprise.
So I'm not in charge of all
Too
this.
soon.
Way too soon.
Huge relief for you to not have it be a surprise
Right.
party.
Yeah, I don't like a surprise party. Come on.
You're old. We don't want to scare you.
Then you got a fake surprise. Hey, you got to look around with big tall eyebrows, faking surprise.
You could also just be surprised.
I know, but come on. The second my wife, I'm already picturing how it would work. We think we're driving to dinner, right? We're going east to dinner, which we sometimes do.
Let's go get a drink on this boat real fast.
Yeah,
before
and all of a sudden she's veering into a what do they call
A marina.
someplace where- a marina, a boatyard.
an eye place.
Yeah, a marina. We don't go to marinas.
Boatyard.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I would not have been surprised. I would have had to fake surprise. Now I don't have to fake surprise.
It has been an interesting journey with this guest list, just about the people here, because it started really small with my dad handpicking a few, where I was like, this is gonna make some people feel awkward, and then my dad's like, all right, screw it, every on-air person's coming. Wow. And then my mom was like, whoa, who's Tony? I'm just kidding. No, I'm making a joke, but my mom was just like, well, we can't have everybody go.
Okay.
It was silent back here.
What day is that?
But to be fair,
She did not say who's Tony for the
there's
record.
certain people that if you invite one, you have to invite the other. If you invite Tony, then you have to invite, Chris Chris obviously is going, but Roy has to go. And then if you invite Roy, then this person has to go. If you invite Jeremy, he's part of the Hee Haw 3. Now does Yeti have to go? I mean, Yeti should be there.
Yeti will be there, invited or not.
In a working capacity.
Dad, can I just unveil who was on your original list?
No.
Please.
No.
Yes.
Please.
I
Hey,
give
Dad,
you
it's not going to
permission.
offend any.
Okay, how about this? Let's play a game. Is anyone that is here in this room today not on that original list?
Yes.
Okay. Is
No,
any
because
of
he
those people
started
speaking
small.
right now wearing a white hat?
I'm going to say
started very small. I started with Dan and Stugotz, if we're being truthful, because I had no idea. My wife's inviting half of her law firm. Okay,
that was another thing. I see my mom's list, and I'm like, what is
Selfish
this, my
move.
mom's
right.
party?
It's my party, but there's going to be a bunch of lawyers there.
She is paying for the yacht.
Probably litigating everything. Everybody takes a slip and fall at my party, and I'm screwed.
Exactly right.
Somebody falls overboard, all of a sudden I'm being sued.
Mom's a defense attorney.
Yeah, that's a good point.
She would defend the boat.
That's true.
She's encouraging people to
That's a
slip
good
and fall.
point. I'm just making
She's spilling water.
I'm just making stereotypes about lawyers. Don't
Why?
mind me.
Wait a minute.
I'm fine not being invited, Greg, if that puts you in a better spot.
No.
I'm okay with that.
No, but I'm being truthful when I say my starting pro is Dan and Stugotz.
And Roy and Juju.
It's not true.
He's really mad at you.
Checkmate
Okay,
him there.
we've gotten
Okay,
here.
I don't want to get into any details about who isn't invited. The new me says everybody's welcome, and not just on-air people. I love the off-air people.
Sounds like old you only said 4 people were allowed to come.
2, actually.
Well,
2.
but no kids except Graceland, my beloved granddaughter.
But if you invite Roy, then you have to invite Billy, obviously. So then if you
I'm
invite
fine-
Billy,
I'm
are you gonna
fine
invite
not going.
Tony?
No. I knew that no one would be offended, but I was just like, if Mike and Billy, if we're going just on time.
fine not going.
Okay, the point is, I don't want to offend anybody. I want people who want to come to my party to come to my party. If I invite you and you can't make it, or you're making some lame excuse why you can't make it, perfectly fine as well. But this is the stress of throwing a fairly major party is all these decisions, and it's not just this show. It's like Herald people. Who do I invite? People from my distant past. who I
Will
hardly
Dave
see.
Hyde get an invite?
Distant relatives. I mean, do I invite one nephew but not the other? How
No.
can you do that? You
Invite
can't
both
do that.
nephews.
Yeah, you have to do that. So
Your wife is being gluttonous about inviting people from her work to your thing just because she's paying for it. I don't know how she's getting like 20% of the gift on what is your birthday, whether she's paying for it or not.
you're not lying.
She's taking advantage of the situation.
Like, a party?
Yeah.
You can invite all my friends.
But should she have to cut someone off her list for like Mike Fuentes? Like I mean,
In fairness, most of the people from her law firm that she's inviting, I know.
Most.
Because we've socialized
and
with them.
Mike Fuentes did save your life once, so point in his favor.
And if you invite Rory, you do have to invite David Dwork. It's just kind of part of the deal.
I've got
True.
And
Rose.
That
Rose,
ain't
yeah.
happening.
To play what the puck.
I've got a rule on if you're somebody who's going to be at my party who I don't know, you have to be a +1. It can't be anybody else because someone else is sneaking in someone I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that they're mostly people from your wife's work that you know, but there will be somebody from your 70th birthday party who works for your wife who is only there because your wife's paying for that party, that doesn't feel like it's a part of your gift anymore.
I will know. I will have met, or know,
I
or
will
be
have
friends
met.
or be friends with everybody who's there.
You can see how afraid my dad is of this.
There will be no strangers at my party, other than the wait staff, the yacht driver,
Danny
What
GQ.
do you call a guy driving a yacht?
A captain.
Captain.
A captain, right? The
Boat
yacht
driver?
the wheel steerer,
The yacht driver.
whatever it's called.
You could not, between Marina and yacht driver, your inability to summon a single nautical word.
Yeah.
For a
From-
guy that's worn deck shoes every day for 30 years.
Lived in South Florida all of his life.
Right. I've never owned a boat. That kind of thing. Love people who own boats. Been on boats, but never owned a boat. I'm not a nautical man.
No.
I rarely go in my own swimming pool. I live 8 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. I go to the beach about once a year, and then I'm terrified of the sand.
Aren't you a cruiser?
A what?
Cruiser?
What does
You go
that
on
mean?
cruises?
Cruise.
Yeah. Oh, we love cruises.
Yeah, that's a
We
big boat.
love cruises.
Or a ship. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
When he said
Pardon me,
cruiser,
Mickey
What do you
Harrison.
think he meant when he's asking you, are you a cruiser?
Back in the day, that had a little bit of a double entendre.
I was
That
thinking
kinda
what
thing.
Greg was
That kind
thinking.
of
Thank you.
Yeah, pineapples and
Yeah,
whatnot.
I'd done my cruising.
And you know it.
We were talking about ships and boats.
Yeah.
And you conjured what image in your in your mind of a cruiser?
Well, it's a family show.
It's a cruiser. Somebody who gets around, does this, does that, and does the other. Mm-hmm. I had my cruising time like everybody in their 20s.
No questions
Then I
asked.
settled down, started to have kids, get into the rut of a beautiful life, and the rest is history.
You played Stratomatic through your 20s.
No, through my teens, into my early mid-20s, I did. That's for sure. That's why I never dated in high school. I was alone in the corner bedroom at 1440 playing Stratomatic. I got
And
so
playing something else too.
I got so proficient at that game, I could play an entire 9-inning game in about 20 minutes. Those dice would be smoking across that cardboard.
You fixed baseball before anyone.
Whatever that means.
It was because it was a quick game.
Oh, quick game, yeah, speedball.
Did you just say I'd play a 9-minute game in a quick 20 minutes?
No, I'd play a 9-inning game in 20 minutes. Unless there was a lot of runs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But in Stratomatic, you tended to it was a pitcher's game. You tended to have 3-2 games.
I'm actually curious about a sports opinion of yours. I'm sorry to sound so surprised by my own interest in your sports opinion. I don't know what you've been writing about the Tua situation, but I don't think in my lifetime in sports in this market, I have seen someone whose value is so polarizing as a measurement that people are trying to assess, and there can't be agreement on who a player is based on his statistics because we cannot separate him from the system and the system that has turned him into someone who has to at least be worth as much as Jared Goff. it seems to me that over the last 2 months, whatever I thought Tua's value was has gone up because Trevor Lawrence signing for that much, an amount of money that I thought would be a lot to give Tua, is now underpaying Tua. And I don't know what you do if you're the Miami Dolphins, because I don't know that the price is going to go down from here.
No, they've gotten into a real bind because they've dragged their feet so long and nickel and dime them for so long that they've seen these other contracts, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, and now the speculation is that Jordan Love is going to join the $50 million a year club, which would be the 9th member of that club. And Tua's going, I just played a full season. I just led the league in passing yards. I'm coming into my prime. What about me? I want mine. And he's right. He has the leverage here, in my opinion. And I've written on this a couple of times, and I strongly believe the Dolphins have bungled this whole thing. And now training camp, when everybody should be optimistic, training camp begins this week with the enormous buzzkill of this shadow over the whole club because of this contractual impasse with Tua. It was unnecessary. All they have to do is pay him fair market value. Instead, they're trying to crowd the contract with all these incentives. Well, plainly, they don't trust the health factor yet. They don't trust that he had one full season. They're still worried
Should
about
they?
Well, look, everything is a risk, right? Everybody is susceptible to injuries. So should they?
Him more than most.
I don't know if I would agree.
I would say that he has more of a health concern around him than the average player because of what happened with the concussion stuff, and now he's lost weight again and can get thrown around again. You don't agree that he's more than the average injury risk?
No. Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps and then his Achilles snapped.
Okay, not 40 years old, non-40-year-old division.
I think a concussion is a more avoidable injury than most other injuries because you can always throw the ball away. If you have to take an intentional grounding, you take an intentional grounding. You learn to scramble a little bit more. I think they've underutilized his mobility.
You think the concussion is avoidable in football?
I think for a quarterback. I don't think so for a running back or a linebacker. I think for a quarterback, don't take the hard sack. And I know that's easy for me to say.
I was going to say. So much easier said than done.
That's easy for me to say, but at the same time, you can dump the ball. You can get rid of the ball.
Isn't the counterpoint to all this that, yes, Tua has some sort of leverage, but the Dolphins know that the way that they run their offense with Mike McDaniel, Tua is more valuable in that offense than he would be somewhere else, so a team is not going to pay him $50 million a year, so they kind of have to play ball on both sides.
I mean, you could make that argument. I think, and one of the Dolphin arguments, I'm sure, if we're in these private negotiations, I'm sure they're going, you've got Jalen Waddle, you've got Tyreek Hill, you have what was a great running game for the first time in eons. You should be good. You should lead the league in this and that and the other. But franchise quarterbacks are so rare in the franchise quarterbacks are so rare in the NFL. If you think you have one, pay them like one, and the Dolphins aren't doing that.
The reason that I want to discuss this with you, Greg, as someone who is the longest-standing Miami Herald, Miami Dolphins journalist, covering everything around the Dolphins for 50 years, you've written the book on the Dolphins, is because I think I'm correct when I say there has never been a player in a Dolphin uniform received the way this one is, correct? I don't even know who you'd put second place, whether it would be Ricky Williams, who else you would choose as a figure that the people who will defend him most ardently, so that the people who are critical of him because they have trouble measuring what his value really is outside of what the Dolphins provide for him. I don't think I've ever seen a player play for the Dolphins who has this kind of swirl around him.
I agree. I think he's been disrespected his entire professional career. Okay, he gets drafted 5th overall, and the immediate reaction of so many is, they should have taken Justin Herbert, who went 6th. His rookie year is barely over, and there's all this more than speculation. They're going after Deshaun Watson. Okay, they have a sitting rookie first-round quarterback. They're going after Deshaun Watson. That doesn't work out. Then they're going after Tom Brady, okay, to the degree that they get fined a first-round draft pick for the skullduggery of trying to meet with Brady on a yacht and replace Tua again. Okay, and then there's all the justifiable concussion issues and people wondering, is he healthy enough? Yeah, he's good when healthy, but is he ever going to be healthy? He's had to prove stuff his entire career. Finally, last year, he proves it all. He plays all 17 games. He has a great season. He leads the league in passing yards, and now he's got to fight for his pay. Now he's got to fight to be thought of as an elite quarterback, as a quarterback that you pay $50 million a year, because that has become fair market value. So Tua has never been respected like he should be as a Miami Dolphin, and they're still disrespecting him by making him twist in the wind and fight for his money as training camp is starting.
Juju, put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Do you know anyone who has used the word skullduggery in casual conversation? I want to get back to what it is that Tony said about this, because I do believe we'd also get agreement on this, no matter how much of a Tua homer you are. If he went out right now into the free agent market, he doesn't get that contract he's looking for, does he? Does the league believe that he can do what he did with the Dolphins without Waddle and Tyreek Hill and McDaniel? The answer to my question is no, correct? He doesn't get $55 million a year from somebody who just needs a quarterback.
If you take him to Pittsburgh, let's say Justin Fields and Russell Wilson aren't there, with an offensive coordinator like Arthur Smith, who's not going to maximize his value in the way that they do with the quick passing game, what are you going to do with Tua just handing the ball off to somebody?
That is what the Dolphins are doing, right? When you say they've botched it, they obviously, are in undisputably win-now mode with the way their contracts are structured. Mm-hmm. The window closed on when it is you have to maximize these things is when you have the quarterback at value. So we're at maximum win now with the quarterback. They've decided not to pay him. Why?
Well, they have him at value this year. They have him this year at like $23 million, which is a bargain for what he's just done last season. And their risk is that you're right, is that he's going to become a free agent a year from now, and all of a sudden it's going to be a splash of water in his face. Look, Tua, you're not as valuable elsewhere as you are here.
Well, let's compare it to the Stugotz situation, shall we?
Good analogy. Yeah,
well,
perfect.
I mean, he's not as valuable anywhere as he is here, which is why we pay him more than anybody else, I would assume, would pay him.
Okay, but maybe he thinks differently. Maybe he thinks differently.
Of course. And then we'll all find out together.
Right. Yeah, as Tua will, if they don't extend him right now, which I still think there's a chance they will, although supposedly the Packers are closer with Jordan Love than the Dolphins are with Tua. So, we don't know. He should hold out. He should pull a Jordan Love and hold out.
Let me just the reason I'm asking the questions the way that I'm asking them, have the Dolphins, you believe the Dolphins have a good football team this year, correct? You believe this even though they haven't made They haven't won a playoff game in 23 years.
Right. That's the irony, is that the Dolphins have been pretty good for 4 years in a row. They've had 4 winning seasons in a row. The last 2 have been in the playoffs. But inexcusably, they haven't won a playoff game.
But you
since the
believe
2000
that they're
season.
good this year.
I think they're good. I don't know that they're Chiefs good, Super Bowl good, but I think they're good.
They're not Chiefs good, but that's okay. Nobody's Chiefs good. You believe that they're good this year, so you therefore believe that their management team has done a good job. You trust how it is that this management team has built this team for now, correct? You trust the leadership of this team more than you have since when?
I think Chris Greer has established himself. I think he's a good general manager. I love the deal they gave to Jalen Waddle because they know that they're going to have Jalen Waddle a lot longer than they're going to have Tyreek Hill, and they need a number 1 receiver, which Waddle is. But, you know, they let a starting guard go to the Raiders. They didn't spend for him. But if you're going to overspend...
Defensive lineman went to the Raiders.
If you're going to overspend for anybody... overspend on your most valuable player, on your most essential player. Yes, I think the Dolphins are really good, playoff good. Not without Tua, they're not, and maybe not with an upset Tua who feels like he's been disrespected and undervalued.
Greg, the reason I ask you all of the questions that I'm asking you is because obviously all of this is subjective. Obviously, we all love to play fantasy general manager. Obviously, on something that's subjective, it's great fun. None of us will be wrong now on whatever our opinion is on this. But the person who is most invested in making these decisions correctly, the people who are most invested in that, they are telling you that's not what he's worth. Mm-hmm. And fans, what they're doing is paying those people for that judgment.
Right.
That's what the area of expertise is. Properly assign the value to these people on something that's subjective. And they're telling us he's not worth that. That's what they're telling us.
Right.
You're taking it as insult. Why can't it just be that that's their assessment? It's not that the market says he's worth that. They don't think that he's worth that.
Okay.
And yes, they risk insulting a popular player. They risk bothering a fan base that just wants a quarterback no matter what. But they're not doing it because they're cheap.
Right. You're right. And they have a right to do that, but they're also not infallible. You know, you judge a general manager on every decision he makes. In this case, they're nickel and diming their most important player. Okay. And in the long run, whether you give him $51 million a season or whether you're holding out for $44 million plus extra incentives, very little difference. Very little difference in the long run.
You've also seen what the team looks like without Tua playing quarterback. And Tua, I mean, you guys could correct me on this. When's the last time the Dolphins made it to back-to-back playoffs?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So, like, you could question his health. You could question, is he your guy? But at a certain point, you need to commit to him or not commit to him.
Right. And there are a dozen teams in the league right now who would want Tua. They might not want him at $50 million, but they would want Tua over their guy without hesitation.
And unfortunately for the Dolphins, that's just what the market is right now. So if you're not going to commit to him, you need to come up with another plan. Because you could say Tua may only work in this system, but like you could very soon find out what happens if Tua leaves and then you don't have him in your system and you have to start from scratch again.
I have spent an inordinate amount of the Tua time sitting out extreme Tua opinions because of how weary I got over 7 years of trying to convince myself that Ryan Tannehill here was a starting quarterback that was made available to the entire league as a starter, and then the league told you he was a backup, and then he gets with the right pieces in Tennessee, and all of a sudden he's signing a next contract. So you have not heard over the time that there's been these wild fluctuations, because Cody misremembers. Not everybody wanted Herbert. That's a manufactured thing you did at the beginning. Herbert was clearly the one who was behind Tua, and Tua came in as a top 5 pick, and then Tannenbaum was the only one saying that Herbert was the guy he'd take. And then that first year of Herbert, we were all like, oh, when it's with Flores and you don't have the right system around a guy, it looks like Tua looks like Goff looked at the beginning, which is he couldn't play until you put him in the right system. Then the whole sport changes, where all of a sudden I'm in a place where Is Jalen Hurts that good? Or is Philadelphia kind of something place where Nick Foles can be a Super Bowl MVP? Because if I put him behind that offensive line, I've changed how we're doing all these measurements. So now we have trouble, all of us, in the measuring of what is Jared Goff really? You've also got Lamar Jackson over here playing the position differently than anyone else is playing it, and then having the same problem that Tua has. You get to the playoffs and the whole thing falls apart. So you guys tell me when's the last time they made the playoffs twice. I'm like, they could have just as easily not won a playoff game with Tua as they did with having Tua. They don't win playoff games. For 23 years, they get to the playoffs and then don't win the games, or they don't get to the playoffs.
Well, yeah, but Tua, they don't get to the playoffs, though.
Understood, but both circumstances, you're not actually close. If you can't win a playoff game, you're not close. You can try and talk yourself into it. I'm a Bradley Chubb away. If you can't win a playoff game, you're not close. The Steelers weren't close last year.
Well, last year the Dolphins did what every team did to the Chiefs in the playoffs. They lost to them because the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
That's correct. They lost.
Yeah, that's fine. So did everybody else. Only one team wins at the end.
Yeah, but not all of them lose as soon as they get there. Like the Miami Dolphins.
So what should they do? Release Tua? Then what's the plan?
No, I think they do what they're doing.
That's not working. You're just saying that's not working. What should they do?
I'm talking about the signing of him. I'm talking about you get him in for your value, not what everyone else says is market value. What your value is. They're being stubborn about it.
Could there be an option where he signs a bit of
I love a third option.
Could be a bit of a Kirk Cousins thing where he gets 4 for 180, 100 guaranteed. He's obviously annual around $45 million a year, but there's some value there. There's some faith there of giving you more guaranteed money than you would have if you'd signed the $50 million deal, but be able to be cut after a couple of years.
What has happened most recently is that because the Dolphins have been stubborn, the price is going up. I am certain that whatever Tua would have taken 2 months ago is not what he'd take anymore.
It's bad leadership.
Well, 2 months ago, he was talking about the market value. He was thinking $50 million and still should be. And what the Dolphins' apparent strategy right now is at great risk, okay? Because here's what could happen, okay? An unhappy Tua plays for $23 million this year, becomes a free agent next year, and can't wait to get the hell out of Miami because they've just screwed him over and not paid him what it was worth. And he will be a very lucrative free agent a year from now. Okay, there will be plenty of teams bidding for him. Okay, and then what for Miami? And then what? You don't have a high enough draft pick to draft your answer. You have a couple of second stringers who you don't trust. All of a sudden, the team that let its franchise quarterback go is, I almost said the F word, they're screwed.
Maybe Mike McDaniel feels like he controls all of this, and he's like, okay, Tua, you think you're worth 50? This season, the offense is going to look different. You think you're going to have those stats? And they try to have a successful season while undermining Tua.
So they're going to tank just to not
try
pay
to
the
win,
quarterback.
but try to tank their offensive quarterback stats.
Chris, go sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes for just a spectacular.
I'm obviously
his own job.
We call it tanking for Tua. It's a good idea.
Exactly.
I'm obviously joking a little bit, but what spot are the Dolphins, in all seriousness, what spot are the Dolphins in if they have Tua in a contract year? You don't want him. If he has the year he has last year, he's gone.
No, you can sign him. The problem is the indecision is making the price go up. Every day that they wait and don't sign him, he costs them more and more and more than had they done this a month ago, a year ago, whatever. So at a certain point, they need to make a decision on him because they're going to price themselves out. If they think he's too expensive now, a year from now, what is he going to be? It's not going to go down.
Correct.
This, well, it could if he gets hurt, first of all, which you guys skip right past.
And if they undermine him.
I mean, but it's the NFL. Anyone can get hurt on any given play.
That is correct. But
you can't not sign players because they may get hurt one day.
Correct.
That is also correct. I would say to you that what it is that you guys are presently doing that is the mind bleep of this, and it is why you're stuck in this particular purgatory, is you're saying it's bad leadership because they haven't signed him. And I'm saying the only reason I think they have good leadership because they made him look like that. And I didn't think it was possible. And so we are stuck in between the two things because I don't believe Tua is that good. I believe Tua's been made that good by the circumstances that have surrounded him. And if I were him, and I don't mean it as a slight to say I don't believe he's that good. What I'm saying when I say I don't believe he's that good is best passer in the league. Look at all the numbers. The offensive numbers are off the charts. I don't believe he's that. I believe that is a system product. I believe that he's what Jared Goff is. And if you pay him what Jared Goff got, I would shrug my shoulders and say, okay, fine. If it's more than Jared Goff, because the market stipulates that, and you then prevent me from getting all the other pieces I have to put around him in order to make him successful, you're putting me in a position where I'm paying him too much. And I trust these people to not overpay on these things. It's more important than ever. You're all fantasy GMs out there. You all question every GM. You think your Sunday league that you know what you're doing. You don't have to handle the salary cap permutations. And in this particular case, I don't feel comfortable tearing up so much of my value in the one guy. I'm particularly afraid of getting hurt. Still, they can try to protect him. They can try to play the Brady game. I see they're going to roll him out more. If he's gonna be light, he's going to be rolling out around the pocket more, and he's going to be in more positions where he can get hurt. I do believe he's more susceptible to injury than the average player. I believe that we spent a year talking about that.
It's not saying that is bad leadership because they don't sign him. It's because they keep being in this purgatory position. They don't make a decision one way or another. And like you say, they've surrounded him with all these pieces. Anyone can do it. We saw what happened when he's not there. Anyone can do it. You could find another piece to go in this system, but like he's very much a part of this system and why it has been successful. They're playing to his strengths. They're surrounding pieces around him that he can work with. If they let him go, they're going to have to start over from scratch.
I agree with what you're saying, and I would also add to you that wherever it is, the difference is on where they assign value. My guess is that Gardner Minshew would put up some decent numbers with this particular offense as well, given that they have a bit of a cheat code. This isn't to say that Gardner Minshew is Tua, but you understand what I'm saying. If they could do it with Tua, they could find a Goff to do it with as well. Like, it's not like we are in agreement that it can't be anybody, but we're in agreement that if I give you one of 15 guys and pay him at value, there are 15 guys who could do it, right?
Okay. If one of them is Goff, then it should be noted that Jared Goff is making $53 million a year, the second highest paid player in the history of the NFL at the time he signed that contract. Okay, if he's not that good, and if he's not worth that money, well, guess what? That's the market right now. But that's what the Dolphins have to deal with.
Greg, the system indicates he is good enough to make that money, right? Like, they were just in an NFC Championship game. And they were playing very well, and like he's kind of turned the tide. Him and Ben Johnson, the OC, have turned the tide on what this Lions offense is because of Jared Goff's ability to throw into the middle.
Right. If they offered Tua a Jared Goff contract, I think he would sign it.
Oh, of course he would.
He's not. They're not getting close to a Goff contract,
right,
which I think is what the problem is here. Now, the difference between Jared Goff and Tua is Jared Goff got them one game away from the Super Bowl,
right,
which Tua has not.
Right. Trevor Lawrence got paid. You could make an argument, and I would, that Tua is as good or better. Jordan Love, who's really done very little in Green Bay, is about to get his. And Tua's over here going, what about me? When's my payday? And I don't blame him. And the Dolphins have to blink, or else a year from now.
Goff has also been in a Super Bowl, and he's won playoff games.
But he got that contract because he took them one game away from the Super Bowl.
Well, he got that contract because he made it the best Detroit Lions team any of us have ever seen, and sometimes that gets you paid.
Tua kind of did that, at least in this generation.
The best offense we've seen this century from the Miami Dolphins,
right, which is what he's in charge of.
Tua also is a victim of the Brian Flores era, right? Because we saw how he looked under Brian Flores and assumed that's who he was. And then when we see how successful he's been now, we assume, well, that's because of Mike McDaniel. And we assume that his success in college was because of Nick Saban. So we have two coaches that we give all of this praise to in terms of their successes in college back with Nick Saban, and now where we have this genius mastermind offensive coach in Mike McDaniel, so we credit him with the success. And then with Brian Flores, we kind of attribute it to, well, Tua sucks, and that's who he actually is. And he's only good because of his coaches, which I don't know if that's fair or not.
It was actually pretty funny. I think probably that Greg Cote has been in the Dolphin facilities where this would have taken place. But Brian Flores has these office sort of floor to ceiling glass windows that you could press a button and physically sort of frost them.
I've seen those. I wanted to get those for my house.
But that was sort of
very expensive, I assume.
That's what Tua was walking into, though, when the office would go. Like, can you imagine whatever the coldness is when you're not getting along with your coach and a physical frost just goes over the windows because of what Flores had and the sort of separation is the Belichick way. This part, man, as someone who will tell you that I value the small things that make me happy now more than I ever have. The pollution that money can be when you've already found people who believe in you, the way that these people clearly believe in a Tua. They have rehabbed a confidence that Flores could have destroyed during a delicate time, a style of coaching that really runs Belichick right out of the league. Because that's not how we deal with this generation of young player. The job is hard enough. Mental frailty can get punctured at any point when you're doing what these people are for a living, and Tua is sleeping at night with whatever his fears and pain are of, is my brain okay? I'm making decisions about my brain and my future mental health in ways that are truly terrifying. To have a group of people in management who support you the way this group of people have supported Tua, and then have the disconnect be over a few $1 million, that poison to me is really something that is a contaminant that I feel for the people involved, because there's a human being underneath that helmet, and I wouldn't want to get so caught up in what the other guy has that I forget how tough my first year was when I had a coaching staff that didn't actually believe and understand me in a way that made me feel properly supported. There should be a value to that. And I'm not the guy who's asking others to take discounts, but I am asking Tua to look into a mirror and have a self-assessment on value that does give the franchise some credit for what that value is.
But that's also a very pro-management view on this situation,
of course.
right? Because you could also say, well, Mike McDaniel looks kind of pedestrian at times when Tua's not out there making things happen. Mike McDaniel looks like he doesn't have solutions to certain problems. Mike McDaniel looks like the second time teams see his team play, they've figured him out. Mike McDaniel looks like when he has the backup quarterbacks in, his offense doesn't work. So I would say that he's helped Mike McDaniel as much as Mike McDaniel's helped him, because we don't have any evidence of Mike McDaniel succeeding without Tua.
As a head coach, we don't, but it's only because, he hasn't been a head coach outside of Miami, and the backup situations that they have been here haven't been top 5 picks. They haven't been top 5 talent at quarterback.
But they're trying to tell you that his quarterback isn't like the argument they're making is like, you're not a top 5
But
quarterback.
I'm not being pro-management. I'm being pro-happiness. Do you know how fun it is to play the game the way Tua gets to play it? He wasn't allowed to play it that way in his first year. And the disconnect of who's responsible for that tore apart Brady and Belichick. You don't think it's going to tear apart 2 amateurs like Tua and McDaniel too?
Let him play out the contract, run the shit out of the ball.
Okay. When you say it's not pro-management, it is pro-management when you're saying it's just business. They're not disrespecting him. It's just business. The fact of the matter is there's one flawless quarterback in the NFL. It's Patrick Mahomes. You can have a criticism of every other starting quarterback in the league, including the ones making $50 million a year. The market has spoken loudly in just the past year or two, okay, where every quarterback who signs an extension is practically destined to be the biggest paid player in the league until the next contract. I don't think Tua's asking to be the biggest paid, but he's looking at 8 or 9 quarterbacks making $50 million a year, and he's going, I'm better than that guy, and that guy. I want mine.
I got it out of my system. I hadn't done it for years. I know I did it 12 minutes too long.
It was fun.
We have not. I don't think it was fun.
I think it was great. I added a lot.
I think it was necessary. I don't think it was fun. Ask Jessica if she thought it was fun. It was a lot of Tua.
We've had worse topics.
Well, we just haven't done. We have not.
I love Tua talk.
I think if we clip you saying Tua's not good, we will do numbers. Numbers, Dan.
I am surprised that we have not had that conversation for 3 straight years every day. because it used to be what sports radio was in this market.
With Tannehill, for sure.
And I want to make America great again.
Thank you.
What have you guys done to me? What did you guys throw?
Dano.
What did you guys throw into the algorithm? What I've tried to stay out of the Tua conversation. I've probably stayed out of it for more than a year. I have not had any kind of opinion that could be grabbed and aggregated and thrown as chum into the water. There are very few sports topics that get this kind of engagement. What have you guys done to me on the subject of Tua?
If the Tua conversation was a pool, this is what you just did.
Dan Le Batard.
Okay,
hell
that's
is
supposed
going
to say
on with
cannonball.
Miguel Ali?
That was the cannonball button. That's not my fault. That button says cannonball. Back to you, Dan.
All right, good work.
To be fair,
Chris.
Dan, these are your own words that were posted on the internet.
Right, but what is being done with those words to misrepresent me, as you guys often do?
But how is that a misrepresentation?
How
If
does
that's what
playing
you
your
said?
own words misrepresent you?
I don't know. Chris was laughing at me. I don't know how you edit stuff. I don't know what you guys do to put me in bad situations. What have you thrown into the chum stream of getting Tua engagement?
Just a good old-fashioned quarterback. Is he worth a conversation, Dano? Getting back to the roots, and people love it.
All right. Jessica.
If the topic was a pool, you did cannonball.
Well said.
Yeah, excellent work as the executive producer. Jessica, the number of things that I would like to get you involved on today, because I didn't like the way that Tua conversation went and the way that it boxes you out.
I mean, to be fair, I have my own opinions, but I thought you guys handled it very well. So I said, I'll sit this one out. I'll let Tony's right, Billy's right, you're right, Greg's right in small parts. I don't think any of us are completely right.
Everyone was right.
But there's a lot of sides to this thing.
Everyone's right, everyone's wrong.
that.
And that is why there have been months of indecision as the price goes up on this, because I do think it's a legitimately fascinating subject for a market that has had trouble replacing quarterbacks since Marino. Like, it's an unbelievable run of never having someone who's this kind of valuable and then arriving where you still can't determine what the value is of somebody, because the sport has changed so much, management has changed so much, he's changed so much, and you're just confused as to what the value. We're all sitting here in the value assignment business. It's salary kept. You got to win in the margins because you got to be better with your money than the other guy is with his money. And we're all sitting here like, what's he worth? And we're arguing about it, and everyone's a little bit right and everyone's a little bit wrong.
I mean, the Dolphins obviously don't want to pay him as much as he wants to get paid. They've had their reservations, which is obvious because of how long this has taken. And Tua rightfully wants to extract as much money out of his career as he can, because the window he has to make the amount of money that he could make being an NFL quarterback is very, very small. We all know this. So I don't blame him for wanting to make more money and thinking his value is higher than what the Dolphins think it is. And this is how negotiations work. Unfortunately, they're very clearly not seeing eye to eye on it. And so that's why I think the Dolphins have botched this from the beginning. They've waited too long, and the price has just gone up, like Greg said. But at the same time, I don't think Tua is wrong for not wanting to budge and sign something that he doesn't think is worth what he's worth a few months ago when the negotiations started. So it's kind of a shit show, to be honest.
The other thing that I wanted to bring you in on, because I felt this never happens to me, where I get to see that something on the internet is fake before someone else understands and tells me that something is fake. I'm almost always on the wrong end of that. And I don't know how the rest of you listening to this and in this room grew up with your parents or grandparents chirping about sort of the dangers of propaganda, the dangers of misinformation, the dangers of not being able to have information or information sources you trust, and how corrosive that can be to democracy, to freedom, to confusing and disorienting a public that simply cannot trust its eyes, its ears, because of how well propaganda has worked. But rest assured that in my childhood, there was very little talked about more that engendered fear than the idea of propaganda, or the government being able to shape agenda in a way that has control of the facts and information in a way that confuses. And I believe that right now, In 2024, we're all living in whatever the modern equivalent was for what they were feeling in the 60s that looked more like McCarthyism and all that stuff. But the modern thing that's happening right now is that it becomes very hard to tell what's real and what's not real. My wife was fooled by an AI video of Mike McDaniel talking about Tyreek Hill and the number of children that Tyreek Hill has had out of wedlock. And she doesn't know anything about sports. And it seemed real, and it looked real, and it's AI, and you can't tell from the distortion of the lips and the way that everything's moving. You cannot tell that it's not him talking. And the only thing that gave me access to it is like, no, Valerie, Coach would never talk that way publicly about all of what is happening there. Although, man, it would sure as hell be a hell of a lot. Like, that's one of the refreshing ones, McDaniel. He's one of the ones who actually says the interesting things. Nobody's willing to touch this subject at all in the Dolphin facility. But the thing that I wanted to ask the young people here is, are you guys better about not being fooled by all of this stuff? Or do you guys also now get got because it's getting better and better and it's getting more sophisticated about how to fool you?
Like AI, I'm getting better at detecting it. I got fooled by Paul Maurice videos were circulating during the Panthers playoffs that were clearly fake.
Panthers never won.
One or two of them may have got me, but I'm like AI, I'm improving at recognizing it.
It's all in the mouth. If you can't really tell what the person's saying via the mouth, you know it's AI.
Didn't I do a top 5 list once of like top 5 ways to detect AI videos after there was some Dabo Sweeney video last year that went viral?
That was real.
That one was real.
I know, but anytime I think of Dabo Sweeney, I just think of Tyler.
But one of the reasons, I don't remember everything from the top 5, but one of the ways you can tell if it's AI is if the person is saying something that is ridiculous. That is usually the number one tell.
There was a Biden one that was making the rounds yesterday and the day before that I was like, clearly AI.
No one's being fooled by
Wait,
Leon
you mean
Edwards.
He didn't say his brain was applesauce in real life? That's crazy.
No one is being fooled by Leon Edwards, correct?
Ooh, I don't know, Dano. Obviously,
I haven't seen it. Let's see this thing.
The welterweight champ is fighting this weekend in London, doing a running training with his coach.
All right, looks real so far. Just jogging in a park.
Yeah.
All right, so far looks real to me. I'll be the judge of this. He's jogging in a park.
Pick-up hoops game going on. They throw him the ball.
Oh,
kicks it one shot.
Totally fake.
Right into the hoop.
Good shot.
100% fake.
That's real.
Again, this is a left kick that ended Kamaru Usman's run as probably the greatest welterweight that we've seen in a long time.
Right, but
He's standing at a 3. Someone tosses him the ball, and in the air, he one-time kicks it.
Yeah, lovely drop
The
kick.
length of the court into the other hoop, and that is 1,000% fake. What?
I don't know. Strong kick.
don't know.
So, Dan, this video reminded me of things that I would see in my childhood growing up, usually on commercials from PTI when you were doing them. And I made a top 5 list of the most incredible things that we've seen from back in the day that might have been real or might have been original AI. We don't know yet.
Billy, do you remember, because if I remember correctly, one of the first times that I ever saw video of any kind that was meant to purposely distort how good someone was athletically, it was Michael Vick throwing a football out of
Okay, hold on. That might be on the list down.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Well, but that's the first time I even remember seeing it. Wasn't there a viral commercial campaign that had an assortment of athletes doing?
We're getting to it,
right.
Dano.
Yeah,
Number
come on.
5, Chris Chambers catching 3 balls with 2 hands.
That's one of them I remember. Yeah.
Here we go. He's there. He's like, all right, you guys want to see me catch a football? All right, here we go. He's got his gloves on. He's walking down. Jugs machine's about to throw a ball. He's backwards, by the way.
No, he's got his back to
Here
it.
we go.
He's not
Bam.
backward. He's
Bam.
got his back to
One
the
more.
footballs. Yes, and he catches
Bam.
3 footballs with. Yeah,
You're
that's
going to tell me that's not real, Dan? Come on. Give me a
What
break.
year was that?
Looks like 04, maybe?
That was Chris Chambers as a Charger. I didn't even remember him as a Charger.
Number 4, that was number 5, Chris Chambers. Number 4, the aforementioned Mike Vick doing a lot of different things throwing the football. 1, knocking the guy 6 yards back after a quick out route. Here's another one. See, quick pass in the.
It's not even a hard throw.
That's a lob.
Here you go. I think
Wait
this
a
is the
minute.
one out of the stadium.
Wait a
Here you
minute.
go.
Yeah, this is
Go
the
deep.
one.
Go long. Oops, I overthrew it. It's out of the. Yeah.
All right.
Still going.
I could do that with an orange.
For those of
It
you,
didn't go out. It bounced.
Is that
could've
USC
happened.
Stadium?
And imagine, like, if someone
Coliseum.
throws a ball at you and they're, like, throwing that ball 40 miles an hour, think about the fact that you jump up and a car hits you at 40 miles an hour. You'd bounce back like that.
For those of you who didn't see the video, it was just a little tiny little flare.
Out route.
It wasn't even an out route. No, it's just a
got a
little
pitch and catch.
It's just a little toss to his running back out of the backfield, and his running back goes flying 10 yards like Jason Statham being pulled by one of those rubber cords in a stunt. Like it was a 4-yard little toss, and the running back ended up going 7 yards on his back because the ball was allegedly thrown so hard.
Every inch matters.
You know when they throw in front of the sideline before the game and like the receiver catches it and tosses it to the quarterback? That's what they were doing.
It's a check down.
Number 3, LeBron James making 5 full court shots in a row, which was incredible. Perfect form, by the way. Regular form. Look at that. About 75 feet. Cash.
But are these all commercial campaigns? What? This was viral before viral,
a little
right?
spin turnaround.
I don't remember this one actually.
Cash.
Is this so? This is 2009. So it's sort of
He's shooting from the other baseline.
Just casually taking
Oh,
full
yeah.
court jumpers.
incredible. I mean, you're gonna tell me that's not real, Dan?
Give
me a
it's
break.
It's not real.
What's real to
two.
me?
Number 2, rest in peace, Kobe the Mamba, jumping over a car.
That happened.
Watch this. Here we go. Kobe's getting ready, shuffling his feet, defensive stance. He's doing the Birdman, shaking the hands. Here we go, defensive stance.
On
right
your
over the
toes.
car. Bam!
Nailed it.
Jumped over Mercedes-Benz, Dan.
I didn't know that wasn't real until right now.
That was real.
That was real. That's 100% real.
Depth perception.
Didn't
And-
Blake Griffin jump over a Kia?
That was
That
also
was
real.
so fake.
did.
Was
Yeah.
that fake also?
Jumped
He
over
over
like
the hood.
Yeah,
It was
the hood.
Yeah. And number 1, probably the greatest athletic feat of any century, Lawrence Maroney jumping through both windows of a car.
What?
Here we go. Look at him. Getting ready.
He's got a
gearing up
ball. He
here.
looks like he's a running back. He's running,
Here we
running
go,
towards a
right
car.
Through the...
Whoa!
No.
What are you gonna tell me that wasn't real? Jumping through both windows of a GMC. Come on.
There is no name in the history of the show that Stugotz has called more often and been told by the person answering the phone that I am getting on a flight right now than Lawrence Maroney. One of the many great pleasures that come from having done this show for such a long time, and my God, what a privilege it has been. I don't mean to make it sound so past tense, but given what Stugotz is doing these days, I am past tense. And I want to talk nostalgically with you because I do have a great deal of gratitude for what it is that we get to do every day. I'm genuinely concerned about what the next few years of all of this is going to look like. We have had an amazing run. Nobody gets to do 20 years of this nonsense. These kinds of shows end up falling apart. There are breakups. You don't make it to your 20-year anniversary. Go ahead and look at all the shows ever who have done it. There aren't very many. This is not, it doesn't even make sense, Greg, you're a writer, that my career specifically would go to eliminating all other things and just being this show in its 20th year. And a lot of people who watch and listen to this show never know. It's one of my great prides. What's a bit and what's not a bit over 20 years. Stugotz is publicly flirting with WFAN in a way that is not respectful to Meadowlark. We are paying him this week to not be here doing a guest host thing at WFAN where I'm told those offices are right across the street from Meadowlark.
Like a 3-minute walk, I think.
Is he going to go to Meadowlark while he is there? Yes or no? Is he going to go visit the 20 employees we have in our New York office, all of it built by the way this thing is growing and expanding, trying to do things differently in a new and collapsing media age? He's got a foot out the door in a way that flirts publicly with New York, but New York doesn't want to pay him. And so he's out there on the air saying what today, Chris, in his first day? His guest host week is not a full week. He may not be there Friday. He didn't do Monday. He's doing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. What's the content that he's making?
He's saying that he's available for a contract. He's saying you're afraid of some host there. We have a clip of it. Let's play this clip, actually. It's just
I'm afraid of some host at WFAN?
We're going to play again. We're going to play a clip, and Dan, you tell us, is this true or is this false?
So they said what they had to say. Dan and I, you know, Dan would be the first one to tell you he, too, is terrified of Sal Licata, okay?
I have no idea who that person is.
Why are you terrified of Sal Licata?
Why are you terrified of Sal?
Who is Sal Licata?
Well, you're afraid of him.
How would I be the first one? Why is he speaking for me in New York through a phlegmy fake laugh, telling his lies about people I don't know?
Can I tell you something that got back to me? And it's like an awkward, like it's a weird story to tell, but so he was over at the golf tournament that he goes to every year, right? And he ran into Josh Allen, and apparently, according to him...
Wait. Was it actually Josh Allen, or was it a country singer that looks like Josh Allen?
I'm told it was Josh Allen. I saw Josh Allen was out there. So he had a conversation with Josh Allen. Apparently, Josh Allen asked him, how's Billy doing? Which I was surprised to hear. And then he told Josh Allen, you know, Billy's afraid of you. So it seems as though this is a move that he does when talking to people, that he just says that other people around him are afraid of said person he's talking to. But I don't really understand the point.
How should the audience and how should I feel about what is presently happening? He did a move last week, and Chris, he's gotten very good at this with you and in general over the many years that he is, slippery and sneaky. He lies to people about what has been allowed. So he told me he'd told Carl that he was going to be in New York, and then he told Carl that he had told me that he was going to be in New York, and he hadn't told either of us, and then just surprised everybody with something that has been in the works since last year. Like he knows he's going to try and get up there over the summer to see if he can get a week in New York that gets paid for by somebody.
The problem is that he will say it, but the way that he says it is what leads to the confusion. Because he did say last week, I'm going to be on WFAN, but he didn't say specifics as to when. So he's right in saying he did say I'm going to New York. I did say I'm going to be on WFAN. It's just the details. And then, like, as someone who received his schedule one time, I saw how confusing this can be because he'll send you here's the next 12 weeks of my life. This is what I'm going to be. But like he'll actually send you every single week. And some weeks are I'm here. So then you get lost in there, when I'm here. And then those aren't always updated also. So like the truth is buried in like a little nugget of like a bunch of, it's like a needle in a haystack. The truth is in there somewhere. You just got to find it. And he'll give you the haystack. And he's like, well, it was in there. And then you just didn't see it.
He had texted me and Chris last week, like, guys, next week, me, him, and Chris are starting to record something for something we want to do for football season. And he's like, next week for sure, buddy.
He like locked us in. He's like, you guys good next week to record? We're like, yeah, no problem.
Where did he tell you that was airing?
Nowhere yet, but maybe
Our
WFAN. I don't know.
What is it?
It was a DraftKings pitch show.
We don't want to give too much away. We're still working on it.
Jessica,
Might rhyme with schmancy.
Billy's face.
Jessica, what am I supposed to? I'm legitimately asking you here because you often ask, is this a bit? Is this not a bit? I don't know how to handle the fact that we are all in a contract year, and I'm not making it up when I tell you I have had to hold Skipper by the collar from not just really going crazy in a way that ends Stugotz's relationship with our show.
Whoa.
And Stugotz knows that I'm always going to do that for him. And so he takes advantage of it. Actually, you know what I thought was super interesting? I don't know if you guys noticed this. It was to me the most fascinating part of the Warriors breakup that nobody talked about. Klay Thompson told Steph Curry, do not go to management and try to get me more money because you, Steph, want me to stay here. I want management to do that without your interference. And I thought that was unbelievably wise, not just proud, but wise, because I have not had the wisdom over 20 years of always having to go in on the back end of negotiations to make employers who will not allow Stugotz to have the leverage over our situation. So I always have to go in and get Stugotz the proper value for Stugotz. And the amount of resentment that has caused over the years that I had no idea would be circling around in the place where you're not being properly respected by your employer, and that's the respect you want. You don't want it from Steph Curry because of how much he values you. You want to get it out of your employer. I was really surprised that Klay Thompson had the wisdom to ask Steph to back off so that they could just break up.
Don't you kind of say that, though? Don't you have to say that? I think if you're Klay Thompson, it makes you look nothing but good to say that when even knowing that Steph Curry behind the scenes may say, hey, we need to keep Klay. Let's get this done.
But why can't it just be like, why does it have to be nefarious, something that Klay Thompson is doing because he's concerned about how you're going to receive him saying the right thing or the wrong thing when all he's doing is telling somebody who he loves and that they've done amazing things together. I want to be valued by my employer here, not by somebody who has power over my employer.
I just think it makes Klay Thompson look nothing but good to say that. It's like if I, on a microscopic level, if I'm looking for a raise from the Dan Le Batard Show, I tell you, I don't want you to make this happen. I want somebody else to value me and do that. When in fact, I do want you to make it happen. But it makes me look good to tell you I don't.
How should the audience feel about what is presently happening?
I think they're tired of hearing about Stugotz.
But I do have an update about Sal Licata. We have awarded him Gas Bag of the Week multiple times.
My bad. I didn't mean to disrespect
One
the
was
Sal
about
Licata who I
Grimace
clearly
getting too
fear.
much credit
Yes.
about the Mets. Maybe you were afraid of that. Are you afraid of Grimace? Some people do have a fear of Grimace. Yeah. There was a whole viral trend with milkshakes.
The Mets
Grimace's
stopped
birthday.
winning now. The Grimace is no longer lucky for the Mets. The Mets have gone back to just being 500 and middling.
The other one was about Juan Soto looking for walks, I believe. Yeah. So,
I think you also said that he looks like his co-host and that you couldn't tell the difference between the two of them. They both looked identical.
So other than
your
the
words,
Grimace
I believe,
thing,
not mine.
Not sure where the fear eliciting comes in.
I'd be the first to tell you that I fear Sal Licata of WFAN. But thank you for bringing up Juan Soto, because I was watching some Yankee baseball, which was really Rays baseball this weekend, and I saw a whole lot of people in Yankee uniforms who don't belong in Yankee uniforms. But Soto is one of them, and he's great. And Aaron Judge is somehow better. And toward the end of a Rays game where Fairbanks, I don't know, do you follow Pete Fairbanks at all? You have no idea who I'm talking about here, right, Greg? The closer for the Tampa Bay Rays?
No.
All right, he's an unusual...
He could walk in here in uniform, and my dad would be like, who are you?
Right, with the name Fairbanks on the back. I still wouldn't know who he is.
Yeah, you'd say that's Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So Fairbanks is fun to watch because he throws 100 miles an hour. I don't know how anybody hits him, and people do. But he's also an unusual interview. And at the end of that game, they were winning 6-3, and then somebody hits a double, or Soto hit a double, and Aaron Judge is coming up as the tying run. And I guess, was Fairbanks being asked whether they should have put Judge on base because Judge has been such a beast this year that he shouldn't pitch to Judge?
I don't want to get confused here. I think it was they're down by 3. Judge hits a double, or Soto hits a double, and now it's the guy was saying, should you have walked Judge? But that would have brought the tying run to the plate.
Okay, well, I was watching the game. So here's the situation, right? Fairbanks is leading 6-3 in the ninth. Soto hits a double off of the wall to score a run. It's 6-4, and now Judge is up. And these are the only two guys who can hurt you. Soto and Judge on the Yankees, they're terrifying, the both of them. And so Soto's on second. Judge is batting with the ability to tie the game. And the count goes 3-2. And frankly, as soon as Judge hit it, it ended up being a real high fly ball to center field. But I thought he hit it 500 feet to center field. And I guess they asked Fairbanks, should you have just put Judge on base as the tying run?
I think after Soto's double, if Kevin would order a walk to Judge?
We want to put the winning run on base?
No.
We want to bring the winning run up?
First base,
we want to bring the winning run to the plate?
It's been done.
I trust myself.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to go try and get the...
Wow.
It's a funny stare, though.
Good answer.
You're looking, Tony, like you don't think that is anything other than the common response that you...
Normal response from Fairbanks.
But
and I love the southern twang, too. He's like, you want me to bring the winning run on base?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, Aaron Judge is pretty impressive, right? Like it's
been done.
I trust myself.
It's been done this season, hasn't it? Hasn't Ramirez? Didn't they do it with Ramirez in Cleveland with the Guardians? And he said they said it hasn't been done since Barry Bonds, and he says I'm better than Barry Bonds.
You want to know a weird baseball thing that happened, and I know this because Mike Scher's a crazy person. He was texting me about it. So yesterday in the Red Sox and Rockies game, they're in extra innings. It's a tie game. The Red Sox score a run in the 10th inning, but it's in Colorado. So the Rockies have a chance to score or whatever. Right? Or actually, no. The Red Sox take a 2-run lead. So they're up 7-5 in the 10th inning, right?
That's safe in Colorado.
Okay, so the way the extra innings rules work, there's a runner automatically on second base. The Red Sox pitcher intentionally balked so that the runner would go over to third base because they were concerned that he was going to be sending the signs to the hitter. So he intentionally balked. Same at bat, the hitter hits a 2-run homer. Damn it. Intentional balk, tie game.
That's not the best of the Fairbanks sound I can play for you because we've been playing Fairbanks sound here. I know that you guys are tired of my Rays coverage, but I just love how goofy this guy is.
Pete, just can you kind of run through what was going on in the ninth inning? It looked like maybe you didn't like some of the balls that were coming in.
Yeah, they were horrible. You can mark that down, all caps for me. Horrible. No excuse, though. Didn't throw strikes, and that's what happens when you don't throw strikes. You get punished for it. So I'd love to see those come out of the humidor tomorrow in a little better shape before they get rubbed up, but it's nobody to blame but myself for not being able to adjust to some of the quality issues.
Dry or not smooth, or what was the issue?
There was just overall bad. I'm not going to elaborate further than that. They were not uniform from ball to ball, so there's no, dry, smooth, whatever you want to say. Just non-uniform, didn't feel right.
It just make it tough for you to grip and kind of get the ball where you want it to go?
Yeah, it's tough to throw your slider when the ball goes that way out of your hand, so...
The humidor is only in Colorado, right? The humidor for the baseball?
No, I think they have them everywhere now.
Do they?
Yeah, they're things. Yeah.
Humidor. It's for cigars, not baseballs. Come on.
Let me hear some more Fairbanks sound, please.
Was it just a matter of command, location, selection, anything specific?
No, I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.
I know that many of you recently here, because I was getting chased around all weekend about it still, are tired of the amount that we and the sports media in general talks about LeBron. I do want to just celebrate for a moment. LeBron's going to outlast Skip Bayless, who's been chasing him around. I do want to absorb for a moment the idea that LeBron James, at his age, the oldest player in the league, would take out Germany in the Olympics while Wade and Melo are on podcasts telling you what could have and should have been. Wade's like, if I hadn't been injured, I'd go after Michael Jordan. And Carmelo's like, I had a chance, but I didn't want to be the fourth option with Bosh, LeBron, and Wade. I could have been a part of that team. The idea that the two of them are doing their media careers while LeBron wins internationally as the oldest player in the league, please do not allow the celebration of Tom Brady and Diana Taurasi and what some athletes are able to do in their 40s to not allow you to absorb the greatness that is still on display when LeBron is carrying Team USA over Germany.
It's one thing to dominate your NBA team. It's like, all right, there's a couple stars on every team. He's still the best player in his team. That's not surprising. He's on a team now with all the best players in this league, and it's just, I'm the guy at the end, give me the ball, 40-something years old. I know we've said it too much with LeBron, but it's just unbelievable.
I'm telling you that I made fun of the decline of Team USA when they were having close games against Carlos Arroyo and a Puerto Rico team, that I was making fun of the center with gel in his hair who was 40, in other words, LeBron's age. LeBron is now the center I was making fun of for Puerto Rico that was challenging the dream teams. Ortiz was his name, right? The Puerto Rican guy who had gel in his hair. I was making fun of that Puerto Rican team because it was Carlos Arroyo and this 40-year-old center Ortiz. LeBron is now the 40-year-old. I do want to talk with you guys about what Melo and Wade were doing last week as we get into the history-writing portions of Melo and Wade telling you, hey, it can be Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum's league now, but you're not going to forget what we built over the last 15 years that everyone has had to topple here. Because I do want to take some inventory of what these guys did to the sport over the last 15 years, for better or for worse.
Yeah. Was it tough as hell? Yeah, it was tough. But also, too, I think I was the perfect person to play that role. It ain't a lot of people that can play that role. Bron is an amazing player, but you got to learn, you got to work around him. Right. And to work with him. And so, as you see, in the first years we were together, we did everything together. Right. We did every interview together, every press conference. Every time you seen him, you seen me. Because we had to be so lockstep, because I knew everybody was going. Nobody wanted it. My team didn't want it. My family didn't want it. They were pissed. Bron team didn't want it. No one wanted that to happen. The game of basketball didn't want it to happen. So I made sure I linked myself with Bron even more, because I knew we had to be so tight, or it was going to be a failure. And we didn't want to, and I didn't want to be a part of that. And so there we go.
Tony, I can't hear your microphone. What are your thoughts, Greg, on the idea that Carmelo was saying in the middle of all of that? Carmelo is saying, I didn't want to be the fourth option with Wade and Bosh, not in my prime, and LeBron.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's his ego talking. He didn't want to be a role player at that point in his career, I guess. What Wade just said, though, that didn't happen right away. Like, I think it was the second season when Wade finally said, it's LeBron's team.
Oh, no, but what did happen right away is they were giving all those press conferences next to each other. In fact, it was super unusual in that LeBron wanted to get here. And look, man, let's examine this for a second, because these people changed what the sport has been over 15 years in a number of different ways, playing it positionlessly, the moves that have had to be made to countermeasure what it is that Wade was saying that nobody wanted there. What is the legacy of those 15 years in terms of altering the power the way those guys did? So much so, turning it into AAU buddies who are just going to control the sports by teaming up their powers For Melo to say, I didn't want to be the fourth option in my prime, I wasn't going to give up what it is that it would have had to be given up in order to join what would then end up altering the sport.
Yeah, and Wade did exactly that, right? Wade sacrificed himself to fit with LeBron, and it took a minute to get there for him, I think, but he did, and that's part of the Wade's great legacy, I think, that isn't talked about enough, is how he sacrificed his ego and his structure in the pecking order to be second fiddle to LeBron, and rightly so.
Can I just go back for a second? Wade is on Melo's podcast. They haven't played in a long time.
Yeah.
What is LeBron doing holding the ball in all the important minutes as we're playing for our country still at the end of these basketball games? What is it about his body, his endurance, his will, his greatness that allows him to dwarf even giants like Wade and Melo as the oldest player in the league right now, hiring his son, hiring his coach, running the Lakers, running Hollywood, running Team USA. He'd run Team USB if Billy got his wish of having a second Team USA in the tournament.
Dan, you know who was locked in? Jose Ortiz. You nailed it, by the way. He was 40 years old at the time of the 2004 Olympics, played for Los Cangrejos de Santurce.
Chael Sonnen had suggestions as to why this is happening.
Yeah.
We all just kind of ignored him, though, because we didn't like his suggestion.
No, that's probably what's happening. We just stopped caring about where it is that these guys win in the margins. If they're all cheating, all the other cheaters should cheat better if LeBron's cheating better than they are.
I hate to fact check Dwayne Wade when he said no one wanted them to get together. I wanted them to get together. I very much so wanted them to get together. In fact, I went out and I celebrated the night that they got together. They hadn't won or done anything, but I went out with my Dwayne Wade jersey to La Carreta, and I was celebrating with a pot and a pan the fact that the big three came together. So the idea that no one wanted this to happen, phooey.
How is it that we're learning for the first time that their families didn't want it?
That's not true.
Okay, so he's lying now?
I'm not saying that.
That's exactly what
No, I mean, if someone writes a nonfiction story, would you say they're a liar? No, they just are piecing together nonfiction.
You think that what Dwayne is doing there is noveling?
I think
he's
that
non-fictioning?
I mean, sometimes
a bit of revisionist history.
Sometimes we forget that he was a bull and a calf also. I'm just saying.
That doesn't have anything to do with what it is that he's claiming there.
Well, no, when we say Heat lifer, but we make a couple stops along the way, then that's not factually accurate as well.
Don't go to your greatest hits. Stay on point.
I'm not. I'm just saying. Sometimes when we go back and we romanticize things, sometimes we don't exactly, we fib a little bit, Just stretching the truth. I'm not saying it's a lie. I would never call Flash a liar. I would never do that. I'm just saying sometimes we forget the facts a little bit.
When I was growing up, my dad would always, he didn't like lying, obviously, but he found there was like a little white lie he was okay with. But the bigger lies.
Give me an example.
What is a white lie?
Yeah, what's an example?
What's a white lie is complimenting somebody just to make them feel good.
Like what?
Like if I'm dining at someone's house and they've made me a meal and I think the chicken is really overcooked and it's a little bit dry and I'm like surreptitiously pouring gravy on it to just moisten it, I'm going to say to my host, this is a beautiful chicken.
My dad is such an annoying dinner guest because he always takes like the most obscure item and it's just like, man, these sauteed mushrooms are killer. He's not going to mention the steak, the brisket, the mashed potatoes that you like are homemade. They're not from the box.
He stands up for the unsung heroes.
He'll find the most, like the easiest thing that's not that impressive. He's just like, man, this bagged Caesar salad is kicking my ass.
It's kicking my ass. It's the rock star of the plate.
He does that. The rock star. It always has to be the least important item.
No, I think that goes.
I
think that goes along the white lie situation, right? Because he could not like the chicken, but if he compliments something else, he's not telling you he doesn't like the chicken. He's just complimenting you on something else. There's no need to tell someone I don't like this. You just tell them what you like.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly. I've named a glass of ice water as the rock star of the plate.
Really?
It doesn't even have to be something eaten with a fork.
You know, another thing my dad does annoying. If like, let's say a restaurant has like it's like homemade like hot sauce, before the food comes, he takes the hot sauce, he pours it into his hand, and he just like eats it like a shot of the hot sauce.
I love
In his
that.
hand?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In like the center of his hand. Like
Yeah.
you'd think maybe he'd go on a
Do
finger.
you wash
or
your hands
something.
after you touch the menu or not?
Let's not get into my personal hygiene.
I
Yeah.
don't think of him as a
HIPAA.
good hand washer. You're just having hot sauce straight out of the palm of your
Oh,
hand.
yeah, it's
Put it on the
lovely.
poll at Le Batard Show. Both of these questions at Le Batard Show. Is hot sauce out of the palm of your hand lovely? And also, can ice water ever be the rock star of the dinner plate? Because I don't think it can be.
Oh, 100% can be, especially because I know Greg just came back from Europe. They don't do ice water there.
don't.
They hate
Oh,
ice
my
cubes.
God. Isn't that
You
the
get
truth?
back from a summer abroad, you drink a nice cold, crispy ice water.
Oh, rock star.
Chef's
USA,
kiss.
baby.
In
Dan,
your air-conditioned house.
one more thing about Jose Ortiz. He was not only the captain of the Puerto Rican national team, he's the same age as my dad.
I know. He was,
He was born in 1963.
Yes, I know. It was ridiculous. The Team USA was struggling against Ortiz. And now we've got our own Ortiz, and it's LeBron. Ice water cannot be the rock star, of the
Sure it
table.
can.
It
Yeah, it
can't
can.
be.
Can, yeah.
No, it's not. No. We don't even have rock stars anymore. There are no rock stars. There are a million things around here that we try successfully and unsuccessfully to disguise from you. The number of technical difficulties that we are having today that I don't think we've masked very well, but perhaps we've masked better than I think in terms of microphones not working at the right time, people not being able to hear me, everything being just a note off.
Is it possible that Stugotz knew only 2 microphones in that studio were going to work, so he went to New York to get a microphone that worked, and Greg is sitting in his chair because Greg's microphone doesn't work?
You've told me that people are tired of the Stugotz is out content. You just got done telling me that, and then you, this is your move.
No,
This
but
is
we're
what
not doing
you
that
do.
content. I'm just asking. I'm just explaining to. I'm trying to look. I'm taking everybody behind the fourth wall because you brought us behind the fourth wall, and there's technical issues, and that's just one of them. Stugotz wasn't irresponsible. He knew that there was going to be a microphone issue, so he went up to New York to kind of have us work around that situation. Now, Chris hitting the wrong sounds was 100% Chris. It had nothing to do with technical difficulty.
Well,
It was
that's debatable.
mislabeled. I also really wanted us to just pretend like we couldn't hear Tony for the rest of the day, but that I couldn't get the message out quick enough.
I kept dropping dimes, and then Dan would look at me like I didn't say anything, and I was like, damn, that was money. What happened?
I'm going to be honest with you. I unplugged it so you wouldn't stand next to me.
What if we convinced Tony he was a ghost, like in South Park?
What?
Let's get
I'm
away
down.
from the Stugotz nonsense. Let's do a stat of the day.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day.
Stat of the day is presented by Miller Lite. This stat is courtesy of Taylor. Actually, I haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure what it is. Since April 1st, Stugotz has been on 55% of Le Batard shows.
Good for him.
Is that good?
Is
Damn
it?
right.
That's the way to do it in a contract year?
Yeah, he's flexing, man. He's playing it. This is a free market, and he's out there earning it, leveraging it. More power to him.
I'd argue, last 2 shows, he's been part of the show while not being part of the show, so.
I'd argue less power to him.
So would I.
Some power to him.
No.
Minimal power to him.
No, zero. Look, FAN had a chance to give him the power and then didn't give him the power. You got to be careful if you give Stugotz the power.
With great power comes great responsibility.
He doesn't like that part. That's the part that he doesn't like. He just wants the great power, none of the great responsibility.
Great power comes great responsibility because you have to do everything.
That
while
is
he's
what
gone.
happens.
I like
Yes, that's a good T-shirt. With great power comes great responsibility. Because that's exactly how that
I
goes.
like that less.
God Bless Football is fast churning toward you. The award-winning God Bless Football. Greg Cote just revealed to me something. Many of you who have been listening and watching for a while know that Greg Cote had that pair of deck shoes for about 30 years that he wore with his rotten talons and no socks for 3 decades. Just horrific shoes that he once buried. They had a name, did they not?
I love how as you say just horrific shoes, my dad nods along. Like, yep.
They
everything
are.
checks
For
out.
30
I
years.
still
It's
have
just-
them.
No, well, you buried them.
The ones I buried, yeah.
Do they have a name? You buried them in your backyard in a ceremony. I thought that they had a name. Did they not have a name?
I think they were Deck and Deckel, weren't they?
Okay.
It was Deck Cody and Declan Cody.
Yeah, Deck and Deckel, something like that.
He
They're
just
buried
told
in
you
the
what it was
backyard.
and you still got it wrong.
I still have my deck shoes, though, but they're relegated. You know, they're not number 1 anymore. They're number 3. Wow. And so that's a major change in my closet.
What happened?
Well, I have new dogs on my feet.
Oh.
You know,
Ooh, let's see those doggies.
They're beauties. I don't want to advertise shoes, but
All right. Oh, he's lifting
He
the
has
leg.
purchased Skechers.
Purposely hiding them from the camera, like lift them up a little
He
bit.
can't lift his leg that high, and his belly gets in the way.
He doesn't have the Chris Cody flexibility.
he has
Dad,
pu-
can you put your foot over your head?
He is
Answer the phone.
He is
Foot over my head.
He has proclaimed them the greatest shoes he has ever had. What did those cost you, Greg? My father continues to buy shoes from Publix, $5.99 in the bin at the grocery store. It's very strange. My mother. This has been a funny conversation to watch recently because my father's 80 and he continues to be cheap. She just keeps looking at him. She's 79. What are we saving it for? Isn't this the time that we were saving it for? Why are you still being cheap? This is a big expenditure for you. You buying Skechers shoes is you really throwing down some money on wardrobe.
I was shocked how expensive shoes are nowadays. And these are lightweight, too. You know, you're not getting a lot of heft for the money because they're so lightweight.
They're comfortable.
Yeah.
You walked around the Cliffs of Moher in those?
I did. I sure did. In Ireland. Climbed all the way up past the sign that said, danger, you may fall into the cliff and kill yourself. And there's actually a plaque there for all the people who have died at the Cliffs of Moher. But these shoes,
I knew we were going to get to the vacation, whether I
think
wanted
they
to
call
or not.
it cost like $75 or $80.
Wow, those should be heavy
That's
at that
it?
price.
Exactly, they
Yeah.
should be hefty.
The more shoes cost, the heftier they should be.
They
I
should
think.
be,
Yeah.
like big work boots.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No,
you're
I
gonna-
disagree. Lighter. They should be lighter. They should be
No.
comfortable. They should be. Those shoes look comfortable.
I'm
They-
walking on air in these shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They're beauteous.
They're
Seriously,
beauteous.
I don't brag about shoes, even deck shoes.
Is that
you
a
know.
word? Is beauteous a word?
Yeah, it is now. Sure is. That kind of thing. EOUS, I guess, on the end of Butte. But they're great. I'm the older I get, the more pleased I am with life's simple pleasures. And to me, when you buy a pair of shoes and you actually think to yourself, these are the best shoes I've ever worn in my life, I was grinning like a mule eating briars for 3 days.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I do that. I want to go buy multiples of the same shoes because you can never find them again.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
right. And I surveyed the entire line of shoes.
Yeah.
Because what I was looking for was an upscale, a handsome pair of sneakers.
Oh, and you found it.
walking shoes.
Yeah.
But are these even considered walking shoes?
Let me see. Lift that up
What
again.
are these? Sneakers?
I'll
They don't
see
know what
there.
they want to be.
I think that's what people at
They're
restaurants
slide-on
wear.
sneakers.
I think they're hybrids.
Like
yeah.
kitchen workers wear those.
What?
Kitchen workers?
Yeah.
I've
The
worked in a
backbone of
kitchen.
our society.
I have. I work in a kitchen every day. Made a beautiful meal last night. Made a sandwich called the Gerber.
Ooh, go on.
Not named after the baby, but it was in a famous St. Louis deli. It's a St. Louis sandwich. I could give you the recipe right now, but it was you
Please
know,
do.
it was good.
One of my dad's moves is whenever he travels, he comes back and the first meal he makes has to be like from that place. Like this past Sunday, he had an Irish stew. because
Yeah,
he was
I
in Ireland.
honor the country I've just been in.
And I think they appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do you have a Guinness?
Yeah, beef and Guinness. And controversially,
It was good.
the
actually.
mashed potatoes were on the side.
The mashed
Dude.
potatoes were also boxed.
Mashed potatoes are the rock star of that dish.
No, not these. 'Cause
Really?
Christopher just ratted me out. They weren't from scratch. They were
Huh.
boxed. But the
What he does is he takes like 3 of those like Evan homemade like Evans
Bob
pre-made
Evans.
microwave,
Bob
Yeah.
Evans.
and he like pours them into a big bowl,
right.
and he tries to present them as if they're his mashed potatoes.
Don't
It's
ruin
like,
the secret recipe.
I saw you shoveling them out of the Bob Evans packaging.
I wasn't doing it surreptitiously. It was there for everyone to see. But I make it my own, and here's how.
Put a little S&P on there.
Okay, a little S&P goes without saying, but also I used Kerrygold. The
Oh,
Irish-
Kerrygold.
Nothing but the best.
Yeah, and then you mix it real good. You whip it good, and it was lovely. I mean, it was
You're
beautiful.
supposed to serve it out of the box, Chris? I
Yeah,
mean,
come on.
On
put it in a
Thanksgiving,
bowl.
real potatoes.
Well, that's a special holiday,
occasion,
and your
yeah.
mother, who doesn't lead the league in kitchen.
boy.
No.
Your mother makes the mashed potatoes every Thanksgiving. No, she would admit that.
She'd admit it.
No,
She
yeah,
makes
just
it-
like I'd admit that I'm fear salicata. Yeah.